Hello, crypto community. Jeff Kirdeikis here with Brandon Bergesen of MobiePay. Brandon is one of the most multifaceted guys that I know in the crypto space. He's also a DJ and working with Pangea. Brandon, you want to how is that process? Like, how are you juggling all of these things? And what came first? And how did this connect you with MobiePay?
Oh, man, glad to be here, James, and super excited. And, my journey's been pretty crazy to say the least. Luckily, I have a brain that just doesn't turn off. And if I'm not doing 10 things at once, I'm bored. So that really helps into getting me where I'm at today. But, when I came into Mobie, there's an interesting genesis of getting there. And, my passion's been music, and my wife and I are DJ producers. My wife's a vocalist and songwriter. We have a record label called Pangea and a blockchain project that we'll be announcing soon. That's kind of on the back burner for now. I'll tell you why, but it's pretty significant. And the goal is to, make a real living for independent artists globally. And so that's my passion. And I kind of got in the blockchain space, fixing the issues that are plaguing the music industry today. Music industry, 12% of the revenue that an artist generates is what they receive, which is absolutely horrific. I think it should be flipped the other way. And so the things that we had to fix it will come into play. But realistically, I wrote this white paper. It was a crazy experience. I fasted for 30 days, believe it or not, and just started writing. And I don't write very well, or at least I didn't think so. And got to a point where, I'm like, okay, great. I figured out how to pay all these independent artists in cryptocurrency, but how are they going to spend it for everyday transactions, right? That was the roadblock I hit. I'm like, crap, I need to figure out how to fix this problem. So lo and behold, the creation of Mobie. And so it's been interesting to say the least, but that's kind of how I got here.
Yeah, so you created this app on a 30-day, it seems like a vision quest almost. Yeah. Was that intentional, or you just decided you're just so busy and head down, you're like, I don't have time for this eating business? I know sometimes that happens to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was writing the thing for Pangea. That was going to be great, but it was such a just the barrier of entry at that point was too much for, I think. And then with Mobie and all the opportunity that Mobie had, and the kind of the conjunction and the synergy between the two. Essentially, what we're going to do is build Mobie to be a white label app for Pangea. But then Mobie kind of created its own legs. It started to get some huge traction. We got some good, big team members on board, starting with our chief legal counsel, who we could talk about in a little bit. But that was just like, hey, the music thing takes the backseat. My wife and my team kind of run the music business right now. I'm 100% focused on Mobie and have been since September of last year.
Yeah, and so, I think you're nailing it. It's the off-ramps that we really need to be focused on in crypto. The on-ramps and the off-ramps are like the biggest friction point, because once you're in the ecosystem, everything's groovy, whether you're storing private keys or you have custody, but it's these off-ramps that are really tough. So for someone who doesn't necessarily have a firm grasp of Mobie, let's say you're meeting somebody at a party, how would you explain it to a friend?
We easily allow you to spend or send digital currencies or cash anywhere in the world, right from your mobile phone in seconds.
And so what's the integration there in terms of, ease of use, and how is this similar or dissimilar to something like Libra?
Well, compared to Libra, I mean, Libra in my opinion is not really a cryptocurrency. It's very centralized. But what we're doing is we have a multifaceted kind of a hybrid approach to achieve mainstream adoption. So we've created 3 products with 3 specific demographics that will allow us to get there. One is Mobie, which is the mainstream consumer wallet, mainstream banking wallet, similar to what you'll see in the US with Venmo and Cash App, PayPal, Apple Pay, kind of all rolled into one. And then, that's mainly for the mainstream consumer. We have no cryptocurrency in that wallet, except we have linked crypto addresses as a funding source for those transactions, similar to linking a bank account or a debit card in the apps that you see today. So that's kind of how Mobie, the mainstream wallet, works. Then we have MobieX, which is our crypto wallet. This is where all of our in-app conversions for crypto to cash are in place. We have all the storage of the digital assets, similar to what you'll see with, the crypto.coms and other, crypto asset wallets that are out there. So the idea behind it is, we have a global kind of demographic, crypto demographic. We have mainstream. Hopefully 5 or 10 years down the line, we can merge those two applications together. And then third, we have MobiePay, which is the merchant mechanism in the system. So this allows merchants to receive and take any form of payment, major cash or cryptocurrency payment, and we, in our exchange feature in our backend, settles it in their local currency instantly. So they don't take any of the market risk of accepting Bitcoin, Ethereum, or MobieCoin.
What have been some of the challenges that you've been facing with the Mobie wallet, the fiat version? Because I know, money transmitter licenses are a huge thing, take a big application process, super lengthy, super expensive. What has been your experience there, and what's its current state?
So yeah, that is probably the most challenging. The regulatory environment in the U.S. is the most challenging, and we kind of focused on the U.S. for that reason.
Right.
We found that most of our competition steers away from the U.S. and they're scared, especially if they're foreign entities, to do business here. And we took it as an opportunity to, develop a really good footprint because of the legal counsel that we do have. Brian O'Neill, who was formerly SEC and formerly the New York Stock Exchange Chief Counsel, Director of Compliance for JP Morgan Chase. So having someone on the team that can give you the guidance and the direction when it comes to a regulatory framework, licensing, banking, we have the right legal team to do that. And so everyone thought that we were crazy, but now that we have partnered with a custody and banking partner, we're finalizing integrations right now to on-ramp and off-ramp US dollars to the platform, direct integration with people's bank accounts. We feel that we're in a great place with our unique proposition for our user base and our growth strategy to make a big difference here in the US and globally moving forward.
You definitely got the right guy on your team to help push that forward, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. He was the first person I brought on the team. He believed in, actually, interesting enough, he believed in Pangea. And then I'm like, hey, look at this project. And so I'm one of the only people that he's, allowed me to put, as one of the team members based on with his credentials. And ever since then, I've been able to, build a significant team, knowing that they trust the counsel that we're getting, and we're doing everything properly, because we slow and steady wins the race, in our opinion. Yeah. So we're not in a rush to do a cash grab or do a big token sale and raise $100 million. We see a lot of problems with that. We're just trying to do things the right way, develop really strategic partnerships like we've done with yourself. You're probably the first one that we've done and talked about publicly. So extremely happy about that. And, we just think that, what we have is significant and there's no need to rush it.
That I fully agree with that. Some companies, I think Facebook, their motto is move fast and break things, but that doesn't necessarily apply to a company that's entering the financial space in such a big way. I think you got to be a little more careful there.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're trying to enter the financial space, and they're getting slapped harder than Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, poor Zuckerberg just got brutalized by Congress. So the financial space, especially for someone that big, is very, to enter is very difficult. With the right partnerships, right strategic partnerships on the banking side, in different things there, I think we can mitigate a lot of the murky waters and the barrier of entry to be able to do what we're doing here in the US.
Because, I think the big issue with Facebook's Libra, for example, is that they're essentially trying to create a new global currency. And that's where the big friction point is coming in. They're saying, no, we want like the dollar. We don't want the Libra. This takes away value from our hyperinflated thing. But what you guys are offering isn't necessarily a stable coin, but more so a platform to exchange cryptocurrency money, to be a wallet for the unbanked, yeah?
Yeah, so essentially what our coin does, it's a universal payment and rewards token. So we kind of combined everything into one token. We are considering a stable coin where we are considering different reasons of why having one to just at least peg to in certain instances, but we haven't had that clear direction yet. But what our MDX token does is provide the universal payment and rewards token, which means, let me give you an example. I don't think that merchants globally are going to integrate Bitcoin, Ethereum, and 1,500 altcoins as acceptable payment.
No.
So our vision is that we want to be that primary token. We want to be that primary source that's used that can integrate all these other currencies into a singular platform, more or less as a pivot coin or pivot. That's exactly what we are. We're a currency. We're not a security, and we're a utility. But we're even in talks, and there's talks about, since we are a Stellar-based token, and Stellar has very minimal smart contract capabilities. They're built for, for currency activities. We believe that will be the next one on the list with the CFTC to be deemed as a currency. And so, that's our core belief, is we can send remittances anywhere in the world, any form of digital or fiat currency, and essentially on the Stellar network, it can be unpacked in our local currency, which is great. This solves a lot of problems with cross-border remittance and other things. And, simply also the reward side of, business there. I see these independent rewards tokens. I'm not sure why, we would have an independent one for just rewards, but this essentially makes, hey, if you're going to give a reward, let it be universal so that reward can be redeemed for cash. Or reward can be used anywhere on the Mobie network at a discount or whatever that is. That way you don't, and that's another problem being solved is there's, especially in the US, you have closed loop systems like American Express where people want to use rewards, but they're only allowed to use them within certain parameters. This, we want to be able to use it really anywhere.
Gotcha. And so to clarify a little more on the reward side, so in what instance am I going to be receiving rewards? And then what do those rewards look like? What can they be redeemed for?
So on our platform, you would be receiving rewards for essentially 3 different buckets. Rewards on spending, rewards on referring people or businesses to the platform, and rewards for your data. So I'll get into the data, but the data is a big play, and you can either churn your privacy and you not receive, have your data be shown at all, or you can turn it on and be rewarded and paid for your data. So the rewards, let's say for instance, for spending, you will get, as a normal user, you will get rewards for, going for shopping at Target in the US, which is a big box store. We're integrated directly at POS systems, which is our secret sauce, which separates us from any of the competition. We're not just a debit card with crypto on it. We're actually directly at point of sale. So if you walk into Target and you buy groceries for $100, you're getting anywhere from $2 to $6 cash back on that transaction. And we're sharing the revenue that we make, and we're sharing it with our users to help with user adoption from a mainstream and crypto level. So basically cash back on cash. That's one thing. On the reward side, second bucket is we're rewarding people for introducing other users and businesses to the platform. So if you refer another user to the platform, you essentially could make up to 1% of all the transactions that they do on that network. Not just, hey, here's $10 for signing up and here's $10 for the counterparty, or here's $20 and 20. Like, that's cool and all, but we're talking about residual income base by referring those users, which is great. And there's more specific details that we'll be releasing in regards to how that works. In addition, we're also giving rewards for referring businesses and merchants. So for instance, if you referred a new company and they're doing, X amount of transactions, you're getting paid up to 10% on that, on their merchant processing fees, that we charge as a merchant payment gateway, which is great. So now, people are incentivized to do 2 things very easily, and we make it easy for those merchants. We will make it easy for those merchants to sign up with our platform, creating this sharing economy. We're sharing our revenue, we're incentivizing everyone else, and everyone's incentivized to transact with each other. And I think that's what the world needs.
I fully agree. And a couple of things you mentioned. One is that, merchants aren't going to be integrating Ethereum, Bitcoin, 1001 altcoins. I fully agree. And then you also mentioned a little bit about your point of sale integration. So I would assume a lot of merchants want to be accepting as little currency as possible and as stable currency as possible. What is your guys' strategy and rollout on a little more in-depth side on the point of sale integration? And does that provide a scalability issue as you have to partner with individual ones? I'd just love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so we have a three-part process. The current point of sale that we're integrating with are already pre-existing. So there's no need for new hardware, new systems, new integrations at these big box stores. We creatively made this process, which is our patent pending process, that allows us to integrate at point of sale and use really any form of currency, because we settle directly with the retailers in US dollars. Okay,
Gotcha.
So there's no risk to them. It's the process that we do on our end which makes that viable. Secondary to that, we are our global sales force that are getting small, medium-sized businesses and bringing other partnerships on place. Hence, I just said the rewarding for those businesses and merchants. What we're developing is just an app on an iPhone or a mobile device that they'll be able to download from the merchant side. So again, no hardware, and they'll be able to generate QR codes or NFC applications that new merchants that sign up with Mobie as their merchant checkout or their payment gateway can utilize. And then we'll go and slowly build out those businesses using the current partners we have as leverage to go and get these smaller mom and pop stores in place. And then third part of that strategy is integrating with the current point of sale systems, NEC, as an application directly with them. And we're working on closing some deals with some major POS providers to install our application. So we think we have all three major bases covered currently with the big providers, the big retailers, our proprietary technology utilizing QR code and NFC, and then installs on direct POS systems. As these I believe some of these POS systems, there's 30, 40, 50 out there, major ones. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty easy process once we develop those I would say software development kits or integrations with them.
Yeah, and I think you're really nailing it. If you can dive into that third bucket, integrating with the vast majority of the existing POS systems, that's what's really going to be able to spur a massive amount of traction. Yep. I think in my mind, a big friction point is getting them to agree to it. And to get them to agree to it, you need to show them why it's going to benefit them and how easy this is going to be to integrate. I could imagine these guys get pitches left, right, and center for people wanting to integrate with their services just because they're so widespread at the end of every cashier. What's your guys' strategy? What's your value add that you're bringing to these POS providers, and how easy will it be for them to integrate your software and what you're providing?
That's actually a really great question. And so our value proposition is very unique for let's just use all of our partners, and then I'll get specific to our POS providers. So I'm going to use Trip Rides, for example. So we partner with Trip Rides, and we solve some major problems for them to be able to scale and to create less friction in the onboarding process and for the payments for their ride, which is a rideshare company here in the U.S. They're 100% of the fee goes to the driver. They're a software as a service model. And so what we did is we said, hey, we can provide you a merchant gateway in any currency. We can provide you a way to payroll, so to pay your drivers instantly in the app. Also, we're actually going to share revenue with you on all the downloads that you have. They're like, wait, what? Like, yeah, we're going to share up to 1%. So we're giving all of our partners, number one, a revenue model that they would never get.
Gotcha.
And this is a major value proposition that led us to a VIP meeting with OKEX in Dubai next month, because they want to integrate their token onto a platform to be used at Target, and they get revenue. So that's a huge value proposition. But add that specifically to the POS providers is we have a joint venture with a large data company, and this data company is already integrated with these large POS providers. Now, this data company in the joint venture, we're going to use that data as leverage to get these relationships, because data is the new oil. And
Yes.
with the company that currently exists, and they just partnered, that we have a joint venture with, they just partnered with Subway. They currently have 1,400 of their data SDKs and mobile apps globally. And currently, as of today, generating 2 billion records of data per day from 48 million devices. So that's a huge value proposition for us, that we can go to these POS providers and we can work out a data play with them, along with revenue and other ways that we can partner with them to do this. So, when they're seeing the adoption and when they're seeing the capabilities that we have, that's where it's really coming into play for us.
Gotcha. So there's a huge amount of value add that's going out into the ecosystem, whether it's, the consumers, the POS devices, or the retailer themselves. So for me, it kind of brings up the question, if one thing goes up, another thing has to go down. So, what are the fees? What's the revenue model? How is this business staying afloat if you're giving out so much? What's the secret sauce you guys are using?
Well, the secret sauce is based primarily off. We have 9 different revenue models, by the way.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and there's some significant ones, but the biggest one is the revenue that we receive from the big box retailers that are already pre-negotiated, and each one has a specific amount that we make. So even though we're giving away some, we're still revenue positive, which I don't know many other crypto companies out there that are even close to that.
Yeah.
And so that alone is our primary driver in our pro forma and our financials. But we also have other things like coin integrations, where we charge, a certain amount for these projects to integrate their token directly at, these retailers, which is huge for them, use as an actual currency. We have the data, we only charge, right? Nothing is passed on to the consumer whatsoever. They're actually being rewarded. And, we're even working on a model for our merchants where it's either 1% or a flat monthly fee.
Right.
So they're essentially no merchant processing fees, and they're just getting a flat monthly fee. But what's great about that platform, we also have the data and the marketing portal, everything for our merchants that we'll be providing. That's another key revenue driver for us. So they'll have to purchase the data to use to be able to market to their customers directly in app. So, when we're talking about competing and, talking about our competitors like Crypto.com, their number one revenue model is making money between the spread on the conversion between, crypto to cash. They're making anywhere from 2 to 5%. So when we charge 0 to do that, because we're making money other places, those companies will cease to exist.
Right, because it's kind of funny, that model. For example, Crypto.com, they could say free fees, but we're going to charge you 2 to 5% on the spread here. Whereas in reality, so it's not free. It's like, to me, it seems like when Amazon says free shipping, but then they've just baked the $5 into the cost of the product.
And and to me, it's very deceptive.
Yes.
And I think that people are just, especially millennials, and especially people in the blockchain space, we're sick of being deceived. And that's the whole point of transparency and blockchain and DLT technology and the trustless mechanism that's built in with that. So we have to be good stewards of that, that understanding. And so we're trying to create, and be very transparent with people. Here's what we're making. Here are all the different ways. And because, just like we would have to be doing that as a public company, we want to do that in the blockchain space. And so that's really our hyper focus and kind of our, as a company, where our values lie.
Yeah. And, people who may think, 1% is high, that's put onto the merchant side, and merchant side for Visa and MasterCard, if I'm not mistaken, sits around 2.5% currently.
2 to 3. Yeah. Stripe in the US is 2.9 to 5%, depending on volume. You might be able to get down to 2. So we're anywhere from 75 to 50% less. But that, hopefully that's being passed on to the consumer. But the biggest thing that we're doing is we're eliminating chargebacks. Chargebacks plague the global, the global industry in payments, because there's $71 billion and 36, I think, of that alone in the U.S. in chargeback and chargeback fraud. So we eliminate that, and people think that it's the merchant actually is the one that's getting hit with the chargebacks. what essentially the user is, because at the end of the day, if merchants getting hit for chargebacks, they just have to increase their price points to cover those losses. And therefore, therefore the cost of goods is much, the price point is higher for a consumer. So what we're doing actually has some, some intrinsic benefit and value to the actual consumer base that we're trying to protect.
Gotcha. So obviously if chargebacks exist, people could assume that they're existing for a purpose. So is there a pro and a con, would you say, to eliminating chargebacks, and it's just a decision you guys have made?
There's all pros. Chargeback and chargeback fraud is like I said, it's a plague. And the reason being is, if you want to accept Visa or MasterCard, you have to accept that you're going to take chargebacks. And it's so hard to investigate, and it's just like, well, I didn't get the product, it didn't come, even though when they did get it. So there's just a lot of shady people in the world trying to game the system wherever they can, and this eliminates the need for that. We'll have some protocols in place when there's a real situation. They'll get store credit, but now we'll have blockchain technology and other things to validate real claims, as opposed to just saying I didn't receive something and getting it charged back, because that's what Visa and MasterCard mandates me to do in their reps and warrants and their agreements.
Gotcha. I got a couple of things in my head. Maybe let's go with the kind of the biggest one. So let's say, so you roll out with this, you achieve a massive amount of adoption, a massive amount of users. Visa, MasterCard, Stripe, these guys aren't going to take it lying down. I feel everything is like chess in business. You need to be 2 moves ahead. They already have their own cryptocurrencies built out and kind of ready to be integrated. So let's say they start to integrate cryptocurrencies and more of a feeless transaction. What's your kind of counterplay, your 2 move ahead to kind of combat the big guys here?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. And actually, Jeff, I get it asked all the time. And I'm like, hey, what's your exit strategy? Is it Visa, is MasterCard? I go, if my primary goal in business was to make money, that would be my first answer. But my goal with Mobie isn't to make money. It's to provide a sharing ecosystem where everyone benefits, and we can and ultimately give technology to folks in unbanked areas where they can actually do commerce and create value, and to create something that they didn't have access to because they weren't connected to the Western banking system that's out there. So that's really where we're going after long term. So when we look at that and the strategy and how we're benefiting and how we're rewarding customers, it's a very unique combined system that I get asked all the time. Well, what if Visa wants to come and do the same thing? Well, they can't. They're too big to pivot on certain things. What if Facebook comes? Well, they can't do exactly. They can do 1 or 2 of the things that we're doing, but combined they can't do it all. And I think that's really our secret sauce, is that we have so many different things that we're doing. We are hyper focused on growth and user adoption. But as this grows and as the technology grows, I mean, we're talking about 2 billion people as a market that are unbanked. You're talking about so many separate industries. Even, for instance, the healthcare industry in the U.S. is massive, and they need some sort of payment solution. So we're talking to folks about doing something like that. So what we're creating is white label solutions where other industries, like in the cannabis industry or the medical payment industry, can utilize what we're doing specifically for them, but all built on the Mobie network. So if you had Canopay and Mobie, you could still transact essentially.
Mm-hmm. When you're dealing with, gotcha. When you're dealing with the finance industry, I feel like in any business, the big guys want to keep the little guys out as much as they can with regulations and red tape. And I feel, that's the industry you're attacking. Essentially, it's like the biggest one to tackle. So besides marketing and just achieving a large user base, what are you seeing as your biggest friction points or challenge points right now?
Our friction points and challenge points is just different regulation in different areas of the world that we'll be entering into, because everything is different. So having the right counsel and the right partners in those regions are important. So we've noticed that as far as our growth strategy is concerned, it's going to take a lot of legal and a lot of compliance work. So we're working with actual significant parties in those areas, for Mexico, for example, and Korea, for example, that already have those relationships at the government level institutions and things of that nature that we can partner with, that they can become a node on the Pangea network, so to speak, and they can handle that stuff directly, where we don't need to essentially go in at from a corporate level. We would like to partner with, you know, different brands in different areas, but that's a big friction point. And you know, to that, one of our board members, Tal Finney, was former state controller of California and director of policy to 2 governors. So, you know, full-fledged politician, and he represented California when we were the 5th largest economy in the world. You know, so he's a good friend of mine. He sits on our board. He's corporate counsel. So having someone like that, especially because even though we're a Delaware corporation, our headquarters are in California, we can get conversations with regulators, and that's our goal, is to, you know, be aligned with the regulators wherever we're at, providing value and transparency for them, where they allow us and we have their backing to do those things, as opposed to big behemoths that are trying to pay everyone off to do it. Like we're hoping doing things the right way with the right team will get us the right results.
Well, I'm with you on that. If things could be done the right way for once, rather than just lobbyists and payoffs and bribery, that would be a breath of fresh air in today's world.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
So what's your guys' next immediate moves right now? You know, what's the immediate pressing reality for you guys right now?
So, you know, our back end and our, you know, all the bones is completely built. We're essentially in private beta right now. The only thing we have left to do is integrate our banking partner and our retail partners to be a fully functioning public beta. And that should be done here in the next few months. But everything's ready and production ready. I mean, our SDKs are built for merchant checkout. Our APIs are live, so folks can start integrating. So we're hyper focused on, you know, getting the system live, and also developing, you know, high level partnerships, which is kind of our is our secret sauce, and our kind of go-to market strategy is more of a B2B to C strategy, top down, integrate with you know, different tokens, projects, mainstream projects, and bringing all those users onto the platform. Trip Rides alone could bring seven-figure active users within 12 months. Yeah. So these are the strategies that we're going after, finding, you know, different ways to do that. But to answer your question, it's just realistically is the finalizing banking integration, retail integration, so we can go live. And once that happens, you know, we can start to integrate, you know, some of our partners like Butterfly, so they can pay their influencers instantly. You know, there are a lot of great things we're waiting to do, but that's it. I mean, we bootstrapped everything really to this point. We just started our private token sale. We are going after traditional, you know, equity funding and debt funding, and you know, whatever we can do to get to where we need to go. Yeah. You know, so we've been able to do a little bit, we've been able to do a lot with a little bit of capital, showing people that, hey, we can do this. We don't need to, you know, raise $100 million to achieve what we're doing. We think we have a great brand and a great team and strategy to move forward.
You definitely have this strong team and the right vision and the right morals behind it. No question about that. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see, you know, the execution and the onboarding of people onto the platform and how that all rolls. What's your marketing strategy? Are you trying to niche in on, say, first world, or are you thinking, hey, you know, there's a lot of people in the world who are unbanked and just need some sort of banking services. Let's target there, and maybe regulations aren't as stiff. What's the idea for you guys at this stage?
So the idea is, you know, we're a U.S.-based company, so we're going to go after the mainstream U.S. market. Yeah. And to know, you know, we want to be a forward-facing consumer finance type of company, utilizing blockchain and cryptocurrency in the back end. But we're not forward-facing crypto company. Right. Our branding shows that, you know, we're not called MobiePay or anything like that. You know, we really want to make sure that we have a great brand that's globally recognized. So we're starting in the U.S. to penetrate that market based on our partnerships, mainly with Butterfly and Trip, because those are straight fiat transactions, right? It had nothing to do with cryptocurrency. Yeah. You know, those are all USD transactions, which we can facilitate with our banking relationship. But as we grow, we want to definitely, our next market is Europe and Mexico. Mexico, there's something significant there with a relationship that we're looking to finalize with OXXO, which is the #1 endpoint for Western Union. in Mexico with 13,000 locations. And there's a big problem that we can solve with our integrations that we can do there. So if we can send money, for instance, from the U.S. to money, send $100 to grandma in Mexico. Grandma doesn't need a bank.
Yes.
All she needs is a cell phone, and she can go into OXXO and purchase. And it solves a lot of problems because in Mexico, they have a limited amount of pesos available on a daily basis. So people are capped on what they can withdraw, and then they're being robbed when leaving the stores because they have the cash, because everyone knows they're going there to get money.
Right.
So, and this is, information directly from, high level people in Mexico that love our project because we can help, fix these problems. So, it's a very strategic thing. We have to be very careful of not doing too many things at once. Really hyper focused on what can we do now? Let's prove our concept here, and then we can start to duplicate. But long-term unbanked is a big thing for us. And with our technology, not needing a bank account or a debit card to transact, that's key. And we think that's going to really set us apart to having a massive user base. 5-10 years from now.
The applications for Mobie are really endless, and you can even look at the application of Western Union and sending these mass amounts of money that charge 10% fees, I believe, currently.
10, depending, they just it's a fixed and a percentage depending on where you're at. It's crazy, and they're preying. The thing is, they're preying off of less fortunate people, and that don't have the means and resources. And so for me, it's more of a social responsibility thing, and that's why we're trying to develop these charities with Give Mobie Foundation and partner with charities that we can actually understand and help these different things that are going on around the world, and help to implement remittance in these third world countries, because it's such a nightmare, and there's predatory people like Western Union out there doing it.
It's crazy. It reminds me of in Canada, at least, if you go below a certain balance in your bank, the bank will charge you $35. It's like a poor tax.
Oh no, it's the same thing. It's the same thing in the U.S. They charge people non-sufficient funds fees for and like you already know these guys are poor and don't have money. Like, what are you doing? And then they're just adding to their ridiculous balance sheets. For me, that's what people are going to get sick of, and hopefully we can build the system where we're not doing that to people. We don't need to. If everyone shares, we build a mechanism where a sharing economy where everyone feeds each other.
Yes.
Rising tide lifts all ships. It's a very fundamental principle, but unfortunately you have too many players, and you have legacy companies and investment banks and banks that are out there that have one thing to do, and that's to report to their shareholders and making sure they're making a profit. There's ways to make profit, but there's also ways that you can help others in the process.
And so, I think you bring up a very good point. Is once you go IPO, I believe you have to. It's like a fiduciary responsibility to attempt to continually increase profits. So I believe most companies start out with a very altruistic motive, or maybe not all, but a majority, and then over time they start to get seeded down into this profitability structure. And if you're selling off equity and you're planning to scale, how will you guys eventually adapt around that system?
That's a good question. And to be honest with you, it's something that, it's kind of in the back of all of our minds, but it's also important to make sure we make the right decisions now. Yeah. And be proactive in the decision-making to help avoid certain situations where you're forced to go down a path that you didn't normally want to go down because of legal reasons and other things. And, that's why I think that's why Elon Musk wanted to go back private, because he's like, man, this public thing is just no fun, right?
Yeah.
He started tweeting about it, got slapped by the SEC. But
yeah, going public at 420.
Yeah, 420, exactly. What a guy. Hero, by the way. And so, those things you have to be very careful of. And I think really for me is maintaining control of the company. So we other corporate interests and don't kind of come in and start to manipulate and strong arm, board members and other people to make certain decisions that are very cash driven and don't help out the overall, and really the user base, because it comes down to our merchants and users. That's who I have a responsibility to, and of course our investors. But that's something that we just have to be very careful of and navigate, cautiously in the interim to avoid those type of situations that could come up.
Yeah, and every company can pivot as well in different systems like DAOs and things like that. I'm sure that's not in the cards for you guys right now, but there's so many options to be able to pivot away from this model that's centered around greed and just always pumping the investors' pockets at whatever cost. It's a very interesting space to be involved in. To have you go from Pangea to then to Mobie and have this versatility, I feel like you guys are in a good position to be able to have the correct pivots, to be able to make the right moves moving forward in time.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So if somebody wants to get involved with the Mobie vision, download the beta, or they want to get invested, what are the different routes that somebody could take to do that?
Well, first by start visiting our website. We're in the process of updating it with all of our, all of our token sell information. But you can go to MobiePay.io. That's MOBIE Pay, PAY.io. And then you can also download the wallet there and receive $10 in MobieCoin. It'll automatically be sent to your wallet once you register and confirm your email address. And then there you can also join our Telegram group, which I believe we can send out the link for.
Yep.
Actually, there's also a link on the website for our Telegram group. And check out there. There's also information on the white paper, how to join the private sale if you qualify, all that kind of good stuff. But we have a lot of value propositions for our user base. Again, referring other users to the system. So anyone would want to get involved in the early stage. We can't tell you why right now, but it's probably in everyone's best interest to get in on the beta. Because anyone that comes helps us in the beginning, there'll be some other additional rewards for those people.
Gotcha. And then for somebody who wants to get invested, that'll be launching soon, or is there options right now?
Yeah, there's options right now. We can join the private token sale right now. You have to be an accredited investor in the US and Europe. But other than that, you can join, and there's information on the website for that and on Telegram. I think the best place to go is Telegram for that information. Mm-hmm. And then if people are interested to invest in equity, they can email info@mobie.io, info@mobie.io, and just have investment in the subject line, and one of either myself or one of our team members will get back to them and see if it's a right fit.
Love it. Well, I wish you guys the best. Obviously, we've partnered together, Mobie and Uptrend, so I fully support the vision, what you guys are doing. I think it's absolutely phenomenal, bringing finance back to the place that it should be, and allowing people access to finance who don't have it, the people who are disempowered, disenfranchised, bringing them an option, an alternative where they're not slapped by Western Union, slapped by these $35 bank fees. I think what you're doing is incredible, and so I'm super happy to have Uptrend partnered with Mobie and to continue into the future together. I'm super pumped about it.
Yeah, likewise, Jeff. It's been a real honor getting to know you, and I'm super excited about our partnership together. And I love the platform you built ever since I met you in Bali, and just seeing the first post and the announcement and how much traction it got. I'm like, wow, there's some really great people on the platform. I really enjoyed your community and what you built. So kudos to you, my friend, and looking forward to building this together in the future.
Love it. All right. So for everyone who's tuning in, be sure to go to Mobie. One more time, the website URL.
MobiePay.io. MOBIE Pay.io.
Love it. Okay, you heard Brandon. Head over to MobiePay.io. Sign up for the beta. This is going to be something that is going to redefine, re-evolve how finance is done. I think if you talk to a bunch of the big guys in this space, they agree unanimously DeFi is where things are going to be at. On-ramps, off-ramps. This is the most important point of crypto, to be able to provide mass adoption. So be sure to check that out. And until next time, see you later.